Hello, and welcome to another podcast in the Bell Geospace series of A Propensity to Talk Density. We've got a bit of a different show lined up today, which was inspired when James, a student from Birmingham University, got in touch. He'd seen the BBC footage about our geophysical survey going on in Cornwall and got in touch. He was actually looking for an internship as well as advice getting into industry. We've not set up an internship program at Bell Geo yet. We think these things need to be really well structured and well thought out to give the maximum value to the student, but we're always looking for ways to support academia and students and anyone looking to get into our field. So James, thank you so much for writing into Bell Geo, please, and being part of today's show. Can you introduce yourself, where you're from, what you're studying?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's James. I'm a third year undergrad geology student at the University of Birmingham, and I come from a town called Royal Wootton Bassett, which is in North Wiltshire.
Very good. Thanks. Well, thanks so much. James had so much passion and interesting questions. So we thought that those questions might reflect those of other students as well. So that's why we've put together this show. And to answer James's questions today is Liam Clarke. Liam is an experienced field geologist with over 5 years, probably well over 5 years of working in the subsurface and 6 years geological investigations. He's got 2 master's degrees, one from the University of Durham and another from the University of Oulu. Am I saying that correctly?
Oulu, yeah,
Oulu.
Close enough.
And he's specialised in geochemistry, field mapping, and 3D modelling. So with that, I will step out and hand the floor over to James and Liam.
So, as a student, we have so much of a broad perspective on geology, and we are trying to sort of figure out what to do with ourselves, coming out of third year. So since there's so much a geologist can do, can you please just tell me what your role at Bell Geospace is?
Yeah, so I know the feeling of that when you're leaving university and you're about to finish. It's always the hardest point where you're like, actually, I know a lot, but what exactly do I have to do? And yeah, I know that feeling really well. So my role at Bell Geo is basically data QC. So we get sent a lot of data in and we QC it before it goes through to interpretation. But I also do a lot of planning of surveys. So the aeroplane that we have flies around, and we have to plan the survey of the area that it's going to survey. So a lot of my daily routine is set up to follow to create survey plans for the aeroplane to fly and collect the data of where it's going to be. So first of all, we start at the start when the client comes to us and they say we want to collect data in a certain area, and then we look at the area that they want to survey, and also the minerals or commodities that they want to look at, and we design a survey, or I design a survey around what it is that the client is looking for. And once we started the survey, I look at the data every day and see how good the data is, whether it's meeting the specifications set by us and the client, and then we then compile the data together and we send it over for processing. And we're involved a little bit in processing. And then when it comes to data presentation, we have input on sort of the geology side and the commodities side as well. So we can look at the data and see what the subsurface looks like. So we're involved mainly in the survey planning, but there's little bits all over. Especially in our company, we get to do a little bit of everything all over the company. So we see all sides of the data acquisition and interpretation.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, it's always been one of my favourite sides of geology, just the fact that you're always so hands-on. You get to see so much of the industry, and it was, from my limited experience, a geologist gets to see many roles, despite being given one title.
Yeah, there's always that side of geology because you're always interested in the geology. So when your data you're planning the surveys, you're always looking around and you've done some reading about the area, or maybe you know something about the geology of the area and you're expecting certain things. So you're setting up the survey plan in a certain way. And then when you eventually get to talk to the clients who are on the ground, they're maybe probably in the mine, or they're doing oil and gas exploration. They've always got an input. They always know something about the area, or they know someone who's an experienced geologist of the area. So you're coming in rather new. You've got an idea of what the geology is of this certain place, and then they come and say, oh yeah, we talked to this 60-year-old geologist who's been there since the 1940s, and you're like, oh nice. And then you learn a little bit more, and then eventually when the data comes through and the data starts to match up with what you've been talking about all this time, it's quite it's special when you start to see the certain geology. We saw like someone called it like a bean or something, and then we found out that this like gravity low matched up with something that was really important in the area, and we're all getting very excited. So it's nice to see the full workflow from start to finish, especially when you start meeting the clients at the start and you start to get excited about the project. It's really good.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. And anyone who is at university, I'm sure, would be loving to do something like that. Just
it's a special role. It's good. Yeah.
So for students, sometimes it is hard to figure out how to break into the industry. And so I was wondering, what was your way into the industry? What was your time at university like?
Yeah, so I started off in Durham, and I got to I was doing an undergrad master's, so it was a 4-year course. So I did a 1 year's undergrad master's and then graduated after doing the 4 years. So are you doing a master's after this?
Yes, well, all things go well, I'm planning to go to Airborne.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice. Very nice. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, so I finished off the 4 years master's, and then got we did some data analysis for oil and gas projects down in London. And then from there, I only stayed there 6 months. I wasn't the biggest fan of living in London. So I moved up north into Edinburgh and got exploration on the field, in the field with a small company up here in Edinburgh. I did that for a few years, and then moved over to Finland. I think I needed to, so I did an undergrad master's, but it's in geoscience. So it wasn't so focused. It was sort of a general, more academic sort of master's, and then moved over to Finland to do a second master's in economic geology. And that's where I really started to figure out what it is that I was interested in. The Finnish model, they sort of have this idea that you, during your degree, every summer you get a summer job and you work similar to what we do in the UK with the internships, and in summer you sort of semi-work for a company, but in Finland it's much more hands-on, and you sort of join the company as an exploration geologist, as a junior exploration geologist while doing your degree, and then slowly move up the company while you're doing your degree. So once I got into the field, it started to become much more obvious exactly what I wanted to do. And there's a lot of things that I found that there's two passions that I thought I really was interested in. One was exploration in general. I really thought that I could use my sort of knowledge and talents towards the exploration side of things, but also I'm really interested in obviously promoting green industry. So it's like we can't get away from mining and oil and gas exploration, but we also need people within the industry who have a more greener mindset. We want to push forward sort of the technology that is green, and that we can. I thought that I have already some experience in exploration, so why don't I use this idea of merging the two and bring them both together to sort of like push forward so we can make exploration in general, because I don't really know much about any other areas, but exploration and more environmentally friendly exploration. So this is when I started looking towards the Bell Geo, when they're talking about the higher the imaging software, the imaging data is much more high resolution compared to other gravity exploration. So things started to click together.
Oh, that's brilliant. So yeah, it's just sort of, once you're getting into industry, you sort of learn your trade and you start figuring out your way through. And also Finland seemed to have it nailed, doing internships every summer. I mean, that would be brilliant.
Yeah, it would be much better if we did it here. It'd be really, really good. I think the advice that I have for when you're trying to break into the industry is very similar to what you do. It's just sort of like It sounds really cliche. I've been thinking about this ever since I saw some of the questions that you sent through. Like, what is it that I did that was to get through into this role? And there's nothing particular that I did. I just had a lot of passion and sort of like just kept trying. Really, it was really important to like know inside like what it is that you're intending to do. So like you have an interest in, I don't know, like oil and gas exploration, or you're interested in being in the field or mapping, or you enjoy like academic work. Like it's those things that you need to focus on, and just make sure you keep that in mind when you're doing sort of like, you come into the end of your degree and you know that you're about to enter the world of working, but so it's important to keep those things in mind when you're doing your applications. And I know it's really difficult because like a lot of people just like scattergun approach, just I need a job, I must get a job when I leave university, and we'll do something, or I'll take a year out or something. But it's really important that even though you're still applying for places that you want to go for, keep in mind of what you can bring to the company that is a little bit different when you're thinking about how you want to what your impact on the industry you want to give or want to do when you're there.
Yeah, I think definitely reaching out and sharing your passion, and trying to impress that upon people is really important as well. Just it's not a huge industry, and
No.
people seem to know each other, especially as I've found as well. And so just reaching out and talking to people honestly is definitely one of the best things I've found so far, and it's really good to hear that that's the same message being reinforced.
Yeah, going to conferences as well, I found, is especially when you're a student, you get like the student passes to conferences, and you get to meet people and walk the floor and see some of the talks. I found those to be quite interesting as well, especially going as a student, and then going later as an industry professional. The differences between going as a student and going as an industry professional are not that different, but you also start to meet those small circles of people that you see them at one conference, you're like, I remember you, did you see my CV last time? That was really I've been reading something, and then you get chatting again, and yeah, it's a really good way to meet people and get into the industry that way. It's really good.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. So moving on to the next question, for you, what does it mean to be part of a company that works in exploration? What does a geoscientist's working day look like with Bell Geo?
So it depends on the day, really. We have a full workflow from start to finish for the data acquisition through to data processing through to delivery. So there's many different parts of the project. So before the project starts, there's always this iterative sort of back and forth between us and the clients. We have maybe not submitted the proposal yet, or the proposal is to be submitted. So we have to design our survey plan to meet their specifications, but also to make sure that we design it in such a way that we can collect the best data for what it is that we are searching for. So obviously the people who are the professionals, we do this every day. So sometimes we meet the different clients who've got this idea of how the survey should be. So we have to advise them on what we think, and then come to a compromise of probably what is the best survey for what they're trying to find. So at that part of the process, it's a bit more iterative. So we're sending back and forth emails and talking to different people. And then when you get into the core of the actual data acquisition, where we have a lot of communication, I have a lot of my role is the QC. So I get to see the data every single day. So I get to talk to the different field. We've got people in the field who run the aeroplane and the equipment. So I'm talking to them every day and finding out the weather and where they're going to fly, and what the situation on the ground is, so that we can work together to get the most data possible within the time frame that we've got. And then it comes to the end, and you're sort of bringing everything together. So you've got all these giant data sets, and we're bringing them all into sort of like a readable format, and then bring them so they can be sent over to processing. And then there's a whole different side to it, where you start to look at data and maps and start to image things out, and starting to compare them against what we already know and what we think is going to be there. So it's really quite a dynamic role, in that we start on one side looking at doing one thing, which is planning, and then we go through to sort of data QC, and then through into a different role of interpretation. So it really depends on where we are in the survey, but there's always something new every single day. Sort of like, what are we going to do today? it's going to be Australia today. We're going to start doing a survey plan over there. All right, that sounds good. Can we go?
Something that can definitely take you everywhere. You've got something new every day. So how would you take all this data then and translate it into something that the client would understand? Because I'm sure it's overwhelming, even for a geologist sometimes, to break it down and really interpret it. So yeah, how do you convey what you want to tell the clients?
It's a bit tricky. Luckily, we've got a few very good geologists on our team. Some of the head geologists, like Colm, who's pretty good at his explanation. He's been doing it many years. So we the data presentations always seem to go really well when some of our head geologists get involved. And okay, no, that's how it all is. But a couple of the clients that we've had, I've run some workshops on how the data should look and what our data sets mean, so that when we present the maps, obviously our FTG is full tensor gradiometry, so it's not pure gravity data, which is what most people are used to. So the straight up and down, and then the gravity lows and gravity highs. We're looking at the tensor field, so we're doing it in 3D almost. And it's a lot of times when clients, they see this, they're like, okay, that sounds great. What's the gravity like? And it's a bit more. There's a bit more to that. Our data sets that we can get out, so that we can actually show much more detailed subsurface view of the subsurface. And we sometimes run some workshops, so that I remember I set out the different tensor maps on the table, and we had all the clients all around, and we did a workshop, and it's like, okay, so if we have this gravity low here, this is what it looks like in the other tensors. And yeah, sometimes we have to really talk through the clients and show them exactly what there is in the different with our data sets. It's kind of fun to be able to come up with creative ways to show how our data can be used more creatively. We've just developed something where we can view the surfaces underneath. You can see lineations and folds and faulting. So, and we can look for curves under the ground, which is all new. Depending on how you view the actual that you could set different color stretches, and using the different tensors, you can start to see curves under the ground. There's some really interesting stuff that we're doing. So.
Oh wow, that's fantastic. I mean, I didn't know that much was possible using tensor gradiometry. That is really impressive.
Yeah. Neither did I until I joined the company. We started talking about different things. I was like, okay, yeah, we could really use some of these tools really creatively. So
yeah. So in university, we do get taught a bit about gravity data, but for those who don't know, what sets apart tensor gradiometry? How do you go about mapping in 3D in comparison?
So the actual data set is split up into different tensor components. So so you've got the general gravity is TZ normally, and then we're splitting it up into TZZZ. So it's the change in gravity in the Z direction. So we can also split the gravity up into the different components in the X, Y, and Z directions, if that makes sense. So we're looking not only at gravity up and down, but we're sort of looking at the different orientations of gravity, and then depending on how their variations within their gravity field are, then we can start to look at the subsurface shapes, features, and maybe orientations of these different subsurface features. So it's using the full gravity field rather than just the up and down sort of traditional gravity.
Oh, I see. Right. And that obviously then lends itself into building a full 3D subsurface map.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That is fantastic, honestly. I had no idea something like that was possible until reading Bell Geo, and I was like, I had to call in, I had to see what this was all about.
I remember the first time I looked at the we got introduced to the actual system, and I may be speaking off the top of my head here, but I think there's not many systems. Okay, I don't know actually, but there's not many systems in the world, and they originally used something they were developed by the USA for submarines, I think, for detecting where they were in relation to the bottom of the ocean. But then they found that when they actually developed them, that whoever it was, that they were far too sensitive for what they wanted to do. something like that. Anyway, so then we found that we could use these sort of like sensors, these accelerometers that were in the sensor to measure the subsurface gravity, and it's all sort of exploded from there. So it's really exciting to see something. So gravity data has been used for decades, and then seeing it used in such a new and creative way is really interesting. I like it a lot.
Oh, that does sound amazing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what attracted you to exploration over any other aspect of geology? Although it sounds like we've already started to touch upon it, just how creative Bell Geo is.
Yeah. So exploration in general, I was really interested in to get into the field. So one of my favorite things with university was always being in the field. So I loved going into the field and seeing different areas that you wouldn't normally go to. So my dissertation, we went to Canada, and during my time in Canada, we went to Newfoundland and we mapped the rocks out in Newfoundland, and there was like a hurricane and we got lost, and it was really exciting. And then I did time in Mexico and China, so loads of different places all around the world. And once I found that I went to Finland and did work in Finland, and then moved back to Edinburgh to join Bell Geospace. The Bell Geospace do so many different projects all around the world that there's possibilities to do so many different things, and to go and do many different conferences all around the world or places. So I really am interested in just traveling and seeing different things and being places where it's not normal for people to go to. So yeah, that's really what attracted me to exploration in general. I think you get to see different places and different people and different things, and yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, just getting outdoors, getting out and being able to go places is, I think, a really huge appeal for people going into Earthside.
What about you? How come you've chosen to do geology?
Well, initially it started in secondary school. I had a very, very good geography teacher, and we went on a trip to Iceland, and
Nice.
I still have a piece of basalt from Iceland, and I think that's probably where the fascination started. And then
amazing.
it just became a logical progression of, I like geography, but I want to do something that's a bit more physical, and I enjoy that side more of it. So I sort of transitioned into geology, and then it was having received a talk in second year that I really found that my passion lay in exploration, in mining, and providing elements for the green future sort of thing. That sort of side of things
sort of escalates from there.
Yeah, it all sort of just spirals out of control from a lump of basalt I got when I was 15.
I think I have my lump of granite somewhere that I got from some exploration trip when I was 10 or something. Very similar. In Durham, we were meant to go to Iceland as well. We had an Iceland trip, which is really ironic. There was the volcanic eruption, I think in 2010 or something ridiculous, that caused a geology field trip to be cancelled because of a geological event. So we were all kind of really upset we didn't get to go to Iceland, but we were also really kind of, okay, well, if geology doesn't want us to go study geology, then that's fine.
Fingers crossed my third year trip to Spain doesn't get cancelled.
Nice. Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Sedimentary basin analysis is that one, so I'm interested to see where that's going to take me.
Yeah.
But, what a way for a field trip to be cancelled.
I know, right? That's what we said.
So, what sorts of opportunities does your job provide? I know you touched upon travel and conferences, but also in terms of career progression, because what's it like being a geologist within the industry? Where can you go in terms of your overall final goal?
Isn't it always the question? It's always like, what are you going to do? Where's it going to go? It's interesting because everyone's journey is always different. So there's always new opportunities for every single person. So for me personally, I really started to enjoy presenting and getting involved in conferences, and I found that I like to spread sort of the passion of geology around. So that's sort of where I'm personally aiming to go. But for everyone else, it's always different. You find yourself in the industry, and then you find your areas that you really enjoy. There might be certain things you like doing. You maybe like project managing over doing pure geological research, or maybe you like research over doing, quality control, for example. So once you get into the industry, you find you core yourself, you base yourself, and then you start to realize that I always find it's a way that you always start specializing, but you always specialize in things that you're interested in anyway. So you keep just following your specialization, but always seems to be something that you're really interested in. So yeah, it's always different for different people.
Oh, that's fantastic though. The idea that you can just basically make what you want of your career and
I think it's always
how you want.
I think it's always important to do that. I think it's really important to not only just like have a career, but also you have got to enjoy what you do. So you've got to make sure that you keep in mind that you've got to enjoy it every day. So
yeah, and thanks to people like you wanting to spread the love of geology. I mean, not enough people going into it.
And more people should do it.
It's definitely a career more people should be doing. And I mean, I think maybe part of my passion is getting out there and just talking to people about rocks, and then talk a career off at least.
Start a geology podcast, right?
Maybe I should. For those who don't appreciate mining and exploration, how would you say your job in exploration contributes to green climate targets? For instance, my university, we used to run a module called Petroleum Geoscience, and it has since, as of this year, turned into exploring the energy transition, because numbers in that module are actually going down because of the lack of interest in fossil fuels and in mining. So how is mining still crucial to the green future?
The green future is obviously such a big topic right now. There's so much talk about, because we've got to reduce the amount of fossil fuels and the emissions into the air, but also we need to maintain this sort of how are we going to solve the energy sort of futures, things like that. So mining is essentially critical, I think, to the future of energy. We need the mining to be able to promote these new technologies that are coming through. Batteries, for example, are really important with lithium, and then there's the rare earth elements, which are all batteries and magnets. So any way that we're going to solve the energy our energy futures without actually using fossil fuels is going to be almost dependent on the mining sector. So mining, unfortunately, it's more a pragmatic way. It's not really going to go away. So the way that I view things is that we need to be able to have mining and oil and gas exploration. Maybe oil and gas is on its way out, but I don't think it's going to go away entirely, not for the near future anyway. That we need people within the industry who have this idea that maybe if you can't get rid of it entirely, we need to reduce the impact that we have within our exploration and mining methods, that we have to reduce the way that or change the way that we do it so that we can reduce the impact that we have on the earth. So I think that having people coming through from university who have this mindset, that, like you say, that the numbers are dropping in certain research areas because of the view that like you said, that they just don't want to study it anymore because they see it as it's going to be impactful on the environment. So I think once it's shown that the mindset within the industry is actually changing, because there's new people coming in and they've got this greener mindset, so they're looking at the industry as an exploration industry from a different viewpoint. So if we've got us within the industry already doing pushing towards this greener way of doing things, then it's going to have major impact on the way that the emissions are, are put out from this, rather than have a really impactful way that we do this. If we have a green mindset, then we can have a less impact on the exploration industry, which I think is the way forward, rather than trying to stop it completely. We need to have more of a compromise and say that we can do this in a better way, that we can promote these greener technologies that will be better for the environment, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And so probably the best way is sort of nurturing green mindsets in students and just getting them into the industry and wanting to just improve the industry, because as you say, it's a necessity to cause this change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really important. It's really important that we have this sort of almost, we have this change within the industry, that we are mindful of the impact that we have on the planet, but also that in a way that it is necessary. So we need to have this sort of like balance between sort of technological innovations and also the green side of things, so that we can make sure that we have the least impact that we possibly can, while still being able to maintain the progress that we're making, that kind of thing.
No, it was really impressed upon me in that module about, we had to do our own research on sort of subsurface exploration and green energy, and we did a lot of readings through Financial Times, and I think anyone who is questioning mining and things like that, if you just read through these articles, I think it's a really useful exercise in realizing just how useful it still is, this industry, and how how beneficial it is to the future. I really do think.
Yeah, especially with some of the technologies that we have to develop as well, with like sort of wind farms with the batteries and the magnets. The mining industry is so important for them at the moment, and there's so many things within the industry that a lot of people don't think about. Sort of the transport of materials, or the way that it's found, that can be improved upon, and having people in the industry who are mindful of this already, it's just big step forward on how things can progress in the future.
So what has been your most enjoyable project to work on? What has been the most rewarding thing for you whilst working with Bell?
So there's a couple of things. When the pandemic hit, I actually got trapped in India. So I was trapped in India for 3 months, which was both harrowing and rewarding. So there's so many things that happened while we were out there that are so unique, and things that wouldn't happen normally, that it was a really interesting time. So we were in a place called Jaipur, and we got stuck out there, and we were with a bunch of field crew, and we got to stick together as a group, and we were there for 3 months together. So there was times when we were really worried, and then there was times that were really rewarding. And we came together as a group. So one of the most, it was a time that was really interesting. So we got to learn a lot about ourselves, and it was really nice to be able to be with the field crew. Got to learn a lot about the technology while we were out there, and we got to see a lot of places around India. When we finished in India, I got to do a safari around the northern part of India. So I had some time off left, so I just booked myself a safari, which was really nice. I was really excited to go see the rhinos for the first time. Really excited, we can go in a jeep and find rhinos. And I was expecting it to be really difficult, but we drove through the gate on the first day of the first park that we visited, and there was a rhino stood at the gate. Okay, well, I've done that then. I've seen the rhinos. Might as well turn around and go home. So it's always this sort of dichotomy, especially with the pandemic and stuff. You get trapped out in India, which is completely ridiculous, and then you get 2 months later to go do this amazing sort of experience in the highlands of northern India. I remember actually on a project while I've been here, I got a chance to fly with the airplane. So the opportunity, we could go every day essentially. So you just jump with the field crew, and then you go fly with the field crew. And there's so many times that you're flying around, and our survey height is only 80 meters normally. So you're flying over really low, 80 meters in this old World War II aircraft essentially. It doesn't feel like a World War II aircraft. It's got new wings and everything. So, and then you're flying over, but you can see like elephants and gazelles or whatever it is that's in India, and then you're really low and you're seeing villages that you've never seen before. But then you can transport the aircraft between the different survey areas. So you fly really high, 35,000, whatever it is. I can't remember the actual height. And then you fly over. So we were in the north of India flying over the top of the mountains, and they extended into the distance towards the Himalayas or whatever is in the north of India. And it was really nice to fly over just all this sort of like majesty of the green mountains it's really important. Yeah, it's really nice.
That sounds amazing, and well, it has me sold on the industry at least, It sure beats what I did in the pandemic. Yeah. No, I was stuck in my room doing second year projects and virtual field trips.
Oh no, virtual field trips. Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
Made the best of a bad situation.
I guess I didn't realize how connected everyone had become to their computers. I got back to the UK and I'd missed 2 months of the pandemic, and I was okay, I can't wait to see everyone. And everyone's like, let's do Zoom. And I'm like, okay. Is that like Skype?
Yes, we still get Zoom options even today. It's like, do you want to go to lectures or do you want to Zoom? It depends how kind, I suppose. But no, it's really changed the way we study and just do anything in general, actually.
I can imagine the study is completely different to what it used to be. Hopefully back to lectures.
Yeah, thankfully, I have been able to go to lectures all of this year. Nothing stopped me so far. No, that sounds incredible. I mean, who wouldn't want to be going on a safari in India and flying around at 80 meters as well? I mean, that is.
We went for a conference in South Africa, and on the last day before we flew home, we climbed up the Table Mountain. I think I know why I do this job. This is pretty good.
Oh my goodness! Sign me up. I'm going to go there. So the last thing I really want to ask is, having got to where you are now, what is the one piece of advice you'd give to an aspiring geologist in my shoes, just looking to get into the industry, looking to find their passion within geology?
Yeah, it's definitely the hardest question on here, because it's going to be so different for everybody, that I think it's going to have to be the cliches, which is just be enthusiastic and be mindful of what it is that you want to bring to each company that you're going to. Know what it is that you want to do, or try to have an idea. You don't have to be so specific, but really, be passionate towards what you want to do and have an idea of what it is that you want to bring to the industry. I think are the two main things that I would say. That, and get some internships. go work in the field. I started off in the field doing mapping, so I found that incredible. I found it a really good way to jump into the industry personally. I was in Finland doing mapping of gold sites in Sodankila. So I think if you can get that, do that. But that's only from me.
Right, no, definitely throw yourself into the field. Just find out what it is you like about it, and just be
prepared to travel. Just send your CV to all the exploration companies around Europe and just see what happens.
Honestly, anywhere, I don't mind where I go, as long as I'm out there. I'm having a great time.
Bring the great, because I found that the UK had really good. The way that you set up the notebooks was really good compared to the international students. So bring that around the world, because I enjoyed showing notebooks around.
Oh, brilliant! Well, yeah. Make sure you've got good field notebooks. Make sure you're doing it well, because they're gonna love it. Well, thank you for your time, Liam. This has been really, really informative, and
you too.
I've certainly got lots out of it. I hope everyone listening does as well. And if you don't mind, if I can have a go in the plane at any time. Fantastic.
next time it's in the country, just come across. We'll get you in it.
Hey, brilliant! I'll hold you to it.
Well, thank you, James. It's really interesting.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
No, not a problem.
And that's a wrap. Well, thank you so much to James for getting in touch with Bell Geospace and for all the passion. I think one thing that James and Liam clearly share is a huge passion for what they're doing and what they're going to be in the future. And it was one of the reasons we really wanted to connect these two personalities in particular. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being part of the show. And please tune in again. We'll be spotlighting more guests and members of staff and geoscientists across the business over 2022 and beyond. That's Bell Geospace, a propensity to drop density. Checking out for now. Thank you. Bye-bye.